Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Josh Heston.
Lisa Martin.
Dark Ozarks.
And it's Wednesday.
It is. It really is. And we're not in opposing towns.
That's right. And not in little frames.
That's right. Hey, Dark Ozarks is live now.
Imagine that.
No, you guys couldn't see it, but your phone got the live notification that we're live.
Yeah.
It's like a universe within universe.
Pretty much.
How very meta.
Oh.
Sorry, I used the word.
You went a long way around the park.
I went a long way around the park with that one. My apologies. Dark Ozarks is, of course, what was it, Tuesday? Yesterday? No, Monday. Monday was, howdy, Alan. Monday was Valentine's Day.
Yes.
And one of the most irritating and saccharine holidays of the 20th century.
Yes.
But we are turning the wheels on Valentine's.
Yep.
For Dark Valentine Tales of the Ozarks and Borderlands. Got some neat stuff.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. And I think, why don't we start with the poster?
Yes, love this. Huge shout out to Darren Anstead of Savage Gear Unleashed and Savage Gear, which is where we are.
Yes.
In downtown Branson. Mm-hmm. And this is Darren's original artwork for this month.
Yeah, it is. And it's an homage to Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes, it is. Very excited about this. I think we can whisper the word 2023 calendar.
I think we can.
I think we can. I didn't whisper it, but there you go. That is the plan. These over the course of the season, these ultimately will inspire a 2023 calendar available from Savage Gear. So
yes.
Very excited about that. I'm going to grab a T-shirt as well.
Yes, yeah. Yes. I know we mentioned that last time and didn't get to it, so you can get merchandise on Amazon too. You search for Dark Ozarks. So.
And huge.
And
I'm grabbing.
He's grabbing lots of things apparently.
Yes, I am. But we haven't talked a lot about these. So.
No, that's true. We haven't.
It's a beautiful black T-shirt.
Very
maybe
original.
I should turn this around. I really love this design.
I do too.
I'm looking forward to getting a couple of these, and I also love that we got the alien and we got Bigfoot. We've got a beautiful piney forest, which is very indicative of the Ozarks. These are awesome. I'm going to ask Darren to drop in an Amazon link. These are available on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So ask him to drop in a link so you all can get one of these. And who knows, you have several and are kind enough to actually wear these on screen. And I need to do that as well.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And
we have another design as well.
Yeah. And then these...
this is commemorative of the other design.
Exactly. We have several designs of posters. Again, all tying into an upcoming calendar for 2023. And all of these are representative of Darren's excellent graphic design work. This one is probably my favorite for Christmas, a Christmas Krampus. And this is also a favorite.
I like that one too.
The Plague Doctor with a Tudor village behind, which is also inspired by our very own Tudor village in the Ozarks, Hollister, Missouri.
That's right. And
then our favorite alien.
Yes.
So very excited about these. I will go ahead and put these back, and then we'll kick off from there.
There we go. In giving homage to Bonnie and Clyde, we will start there.
Yeah. And we discussed on I'm back. We will discuss on Instagram. But Bonnie and Clyde had great. Thank you, Darren. You guys can check out the Amazon link in the comments below, and by Darren Anstead. So Bonnie and Clyde really had. they had a lot of adventures.
Yeah, they did.
Specifically within the Ozarks. And this has happened a lot, I'm going to complain for a moment. You can watch films, Bonnie and Clyde, and either version of True Grit come to mind.
Yeah.
That have either very strong connections to the Ozarks,
right,
or simply were in the Ozarks, and then you watch the film, and they're not filmed in the Ozarks.
That's true. They generally are not, and often don't even look like the Ozarks.
Now, I will the second True Grit film, which is one of my favorite westerns of all time.
It is good.
Just absolutely phenomenal. I cried. Really did. Doesn't take much, people. So I think that film actually does a much better job than most preceding films in terms of giving that energy.
I think so.
That they capture, if not the physical terrain, at least it was not filmed in the Rockies. I think it was filmed in Texas. Or Oklahoma, but it was closer. But the actual vibe of the film
was more authentic.
It felt largely right, and I love that.
That really hasn't happened for Bonnie and Clyde yet.
No, it has not, and I really think that, of course, the Bonnie and Clyde story is a Texas story. It's also an Oklahoma story. It's also a Louisiana story.
Right.
It's a lot of states in regard, just because of the ease of transit.
Well, and they kept moving so they wouldn't get caught.
And at the same time, the film, which would film with Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, is excellent.
It's excellent, but it's very
it's very Texas.
It's very Texas, and it certainly does not portray the life that they were leading. I mean, they were not dressed to the nines and looking like they were going out to a party all the time. They were on the run. They didn't look like that in real life. And so the movie makes their life look a lot more glamorous than it was.
Than it actually was. That in that regard, many of these very pinnacle moments of Bonnie and Clyde's run did take place within the Ozarks.
They did, and I think because people generally think of it as a Texas story as a beginning, they don't realize that Bonnie was actually born in Caney, Kansas, just over the Missouri line, and spent a lot of her childhood and teen years actually in the borderlands of the Ozarks, particularly right along the Oklahoma-Missouri border.
Right.
And so once they ended up on the run, they ended up here because she knew the terrain, she knew the area, and knew people, and people that knew her family helped hide them out.
Yes, they did. So in this regard, kind of veering away from sort of the high points of their exploits and their death, what do you make of because this is our Valentine's issue, what do you make of Bonnie and Clyde's actual relationship?
Oh, well, there's been speculation about it. I mean, there's some speculation that they weren't lovers at all, or they only became lovers at the very end. Sort of that tragic thread was that she was a married woman the entire time, married to someone else, and had not divorced. But he was in prison, and then she met Clyde when he got out of prison, and got swept up in all of this, and then he got involved in a robbery, and that's when they went on the run. So you have that titillation factor, you have that drama and adrenaline that often leads to those tragic stories. I will say, and this is sort of jumping to the end, but the closest I've heard of what really was their nature of their relationship and where it was going is actually from a great niece of one of the officers killed by them in Joplin, who also happened to have a great aunt in Louisiana who prepared their hair and makeup after they were killed.
Mm-hmm.
And that great aunt told the family that Bonnie was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So, which a lot of people have wondered, why they agreed to turn themselves in the way they did, because it was a big risk. And if she was pregnant, that might have been the reason.
Yeah. So it does have those hallmarks of a tragic love story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really quite sad.
It really is. And these were very young people. I mean, Clyde was 25 when he died, and I think she was 24 or 23.
Wow. And you really, especially from watching the film, you do not get that impression.
Well, no, for one thing, they were older. The actors were older than that. So, but yeah, they were very young, and really hadn't lived any life until they got swept up in all this, pretty much.
And we're also, I'm assuming we're really looking at a strata of people who were heavily hit by the Depression.
Yes. Their families were very poor in the Depression. There weren't any options for a lot of people, and that's one reason why a lot of them turned to crime, is because it was easy money. Mm-hmm. Not saying it was right, but it was easier than a lot of the options that people had. And particularly in this area, I think half of all the bank robberies during the Great Depression happened in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And it was also one of the hardest hit by the Depression.
Yes. So you can make some point-on-point comparisons in that regard. So, and we've discussed this. We discussed this just briefly before, but I'm really digging this idea that we actually do some sort of virtual and then potentially even real tour of the Bonnie and Clyde locations and the Ozarks.
Oh, I do too, because I mean there are locations in Missouri, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and Kansas too.
And Kansas, yeah, and it also bears discussing here as well before we move on. One of the 4-state region right there with all those state lines back in the day held a particular attraction to outlaws, because you could escape rather readily across the state line, and the cops couldn't follow you. Well,
and if you've been there, you know that all 3 states, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, they're all right there. Actually, there is a spot where the 3 states meet, down by the casino.
Yeah.
And so you get across the state line, and law enforcement didn't follow. So that was very, very important.
Yes.
To them. And it was also part of the reason that during the Great Depression, Joplin was known as the home of American bank robbers. There were a number of bank robbers, and some of the biggest safe houses for gangsters were there. Mm-hmm. So
now this is pivoting to something that is not in our notes.
Oh no!
But it's something that is near and dear to our hearts, and a place that you know a lot about.
Oh.
I want to talk about.
Okay.
I would like to talk about a very specific and very beautiful restored home in Galena, Kansas.
Yes.
But let's talk about it not through the lens of the Staffelbacks.
Okay.
But just about that structure itself. And it's a few days after Valentine's Day. What could be better than talking about brothels?
There you go. Did not see this one coming. Okay, so what?
And I'm sorry, railroad houses.
Railroad hotels.
Railroad hotels.
Yeah.
We did not discuss anything untoward. We were simply talking about the railroad hotels.
Yes, that generally they hung the red lanterns out of, so you would know where to go. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to know?
Well, we always talk about the Bordello, the Murder Bordello, as it's now called.
Right.
In relationship to the Staffelbacks, although the Staffelbacks were not specifically...
They were not specifically there. They were nearby. One of them was arrested on the corner at the house, but no, they did not have their operation. They did not have their bordello.
Yes, they had a different bordello.
Yeah, because there were a number of them. And it was a mining town.
Right, makes sense. And we've been there. You've conducted
A lot.
A lot there. I've been there twice, and there. Yeah, and okay. This is a little. Hey, Michael. This is a little bit of a this is my diatribe in regards to something I love about this history research, but it can also be interesting. Is you can pick a subject that like almost no one knows anything about.
True.
And then you say something about it, and the 6 people in the entire universe who know anything about it suddenly begin arguing the point.
Yes.
And you're like, wow, didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
The structure, the railroad hotel, and even the name Murder Bordello is a little bit controversial.
Yes.
Within the immediate community.
It is. Because the funny thing is, growing up there, everyone referred to it as the or as the Bordello, or even the Staffelback Bordello incorrectly. But there are those that want to pretend that there were no bordellos in town, that there never were any sporting houses in a town of 30,000 transient miners, and that somehow saying that sullies the reputation of the people who owned the house later, which it doesn't.
Right.
And
in that regard, of course, I believe at one time it was a private residence.
Yes.
I believe it's transitioned back to a private residence at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, yes.
And then for a period of time, it was actually a quote-unquote nursing home.
It was there for a while, yeah.
And for a period of time, one of the things I love is how well it is restored. But for a period of time, it was about ready to just fall over.
Oh yes, it's hard to describe. The wind would move it maybe 2 feet. You'd sway, it'd be like you were on the deck of a ship. There was no plaster, no sheetrock. There were rooms that you could not walk in except for planks across the floor. You could see daylight standing in the dining room through the second floor and the roof. I've been in it when we had DVRs up and thunderstorm came up suddenly and literally illuminators start popping and you're running through trying to unplug things before they get to the DVR.
Wow. Yeah, and of course now it's incredibly well restored.
Yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful location.
Yes. The owner has put a lot of resources into it.
Now, like with the time that we were able to spend some substantial amount of time there, my real takeaway from what I was able to just intuit or sense through the thing was a very impersonal sense of anger, particularly on the second floor.
Yes. There is something there that seems to be very angry. And we're not exactly sure if it's a victim, and we're not saying even on the Staffelbacks, because things happened in these places. There's EVPs that are caught of things like he killed me and things like that. It's the one place that I've seen a shadow man literally run at someone,
right,
headlong up the stairs, and the woman that was in the line of fire jumped and just about jumped in my arms. Very startled as the shadow went through the back wall. So yeah, there's something angry there, and then there seems to be other things there.
And two of the stories that was relayed to us while the time I got to be there that really it was very difficult for me to shake. One was the finding of an infant's remains in the wall.
Right.
They had been wrapped in period newspaper, newspaper from the 1890s, and hidden in the wall. That one's hard to shake.
It is.
And then in relationship to that, in that same location, that the work crews were in there, and one or more of the workers in that location saw a dark cloud emanate out of the flooring, stay motionless for a period of time before it dissipated, and that particular work crew did not want to come back in the house. Yeah,
and I've actually seen a mist like that, and up in the attic, that's not uncommon.
So to me, it's a fascinating location.
It really is. Well, and also people have the sensation of being in there and feeling drunk, which would make sense.
And I didn't experience that. The heaviness, points of heaviness, points of watchfulness, and then just that sense of non-directed anger.
Yes, I think the most up close and personal thing that I've experienced there, and I think I've told you this story before, but on doing a tour, there was a bedroom that the door would swing open on its own, and it was level, it didn't move generally, that kind of thing. And a gentleman was doing the tour with me, and we were standing inside the doorway, and he's talking, and everyone's standing on the landing, and all of a sudden I get slapped on the butt. And I turned and looked at him, thinking he did it, and he's still standing there talking. Hands moving like this. I turn around and I don't know, but something slapped me on the butt.
Yeah, and so Dark Valentines at the Murder Bordello in Galena, Kansas. It's a very evocative location. The whole region actually with those.
It is.
The valley that's been mined. Is very evocative.
It really is. It's a different environment.
Yeah. So from there, that wasn't on the list, but I just want to throw that in. I love the building. Lover's Leap.
Which one?
Well, we only have about 50 to choose from, and that's just in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
I think there's. Of course, there's multiple locations in the Ozarks that are classified as Lover's Leap. Most of them have likely fictitious Native American stories associated with them.
Yes, our ever-present suicidal Indian princesses.
Yes.
Which, and not saying that derogatory, it's just the most common legend across America. Every single state has a suicidal Indian princess story that she leapt to her death because she couldn't marry her love.
And now to me, I think that there's enough time has passed. Most of these story aspects seem to come together. I would say approximately 1840s ish.
Yeah, some earlier on the East Coast, but yeah.
And then. I think the one in Hannibal, I saw 1840, which is what came to mind. But that just sort of that collective space of early to mid 19th century.
Yeah.
And something that now it can be kind of a prickly issue, just in terms of how perceptions about Native Americans in North America during European settlement, how potentially romanticizing people that had been displaced, those types of things. There's a lot of moving parts. I like to think that we're far enough out from that we can look at various parts objectively. We hope, and you can, and it's anybody's guess with me.
I try, people.
She does, and you succeed many times. I'm very proud of you, keeping me in line. But also, and this is what I think is this is where I'm going with this, that we're far enough out that the potentially troublesome stories are also part of a historic record.
Yes, they are, and received legends, so that often people talk about a lover's leap and they don't even realize it goes back to an Indian story. It's just they've always heard it called that, and then over time, sometimes it becomes some teenagers in the 1950s or whatever, and they don't even realize it goes back to that.
And I think it's fair. We'll deal with some of the specific locations, which tend to move around also. But I think that it is fair to say that the enduring quality and the fact that you can take, say, a mythical Indian tribe and put them in its place, or you could take contemporary teenagers, put it in its place,
Right.
rehabilitate the myth, so to speak. And first of all, I think it speaks to the endurance of the legends. But I think there's also something very archetypally resonant
Oh yeah.
in the story, especially if you're on teenagers. And
I mean, Romeo and Juliet still gets presented 500 years later. There's a reason.
there is a reason. They're all just crazy until they're at least 25. But we weren't. We were perfectly sane.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with that, there's some interesting telling and retelling. We have the princess.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to take the terms Native American or Indian out of it for a moment. You have the princess,
Yes.
who is, for example, in love with an enemy.
But it's usually a warrior. It's like the princess and the knight.
Yes,
in
the
Chinese.
enemy knight,
Uh-huh.
in love with the essentially the bad boy,
Yes.
and father does not approve
Yes, and forbids it.
and forbids it. In the case of the Tom Sauk legend, in near the St. Francois Mountains, eastern Ozarks, father forbids it, orders the young warrior lover to be killed.
Yes.
That is done in particularly graphic fashion, throwing him off a cliff onto waiting spears.
Yeah, I mean it's which is a very European.
Yes.
I wonder who created the story.
Who actually wrote that
Yeah.
story? Yeah. I was getting some similar vibes as well. Some Arthurian connections but thrown off and then the girl, the princess, in emotional angst, throws herself off to be with her lover in the afterlife.
Right.
In the case of the Tom Sauk legend, first she curses the tribe.
Right. Her own tribe.
Her own tribe, and says that the Great Spirit will destroy them with and I like this term. I love it. The Storm King.
Yes.
I thought that was very evocative. It also made me think of the Goblin King, the original one, not the 1980s Goblin King.
Yeah.
Don't think about that. And no, they said that you can't not. But the storm comes through and destroys the people.
Right.
And that a lightning bolt, very Odin-esque,